President Muhammadu Buhari declares zero tolerance on smuggling.
Nigeria and Qatar resolve to deepen economic relations.
And hope rises for $50 billion interbasin water transport project to revive village child.
Nigeria is the largest shareholder of the African Development Bank, and leaders have to lead. Nigeria is a big economy. Nigeria has to be a powerhouse.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we focus on post-election matters and governance.
All right, Kieran, as we always say in this part of the world, the 2019 election is done and dusted, or is it? But one thing for sure is that attention has been gradually shifted to the business of governance, which of course was overshadowed during the period of the elections.
Exactly, because after election there must be governance. Now, recall that the elections which held in March and spilled over to April were not without political fireworks and some upheavals like the postponement of the polls by 1 week, which attracted reactions locally and internationally.
And as, of course, Nigerians and especially international community await the inauguration of President Muhammadu Buhari in May, key players are also, expecting priorities of government in terms of course, governance and going forward.
Exactly, and I bet to Claire, foreign investors are more concerned, about the kind of economic policies government will formulate, and also the issue of security, to ensure that whatever they put in Nigeria will function efficiently, especially when issues concerning banditry in Zamfara, Kaduna, Sokoto, Katsina, and even Taraba are there staring in our faces.
Of course, Kieran, you do know that a major concern for both local and international investors is that they have a safe and conducive environment to invest in, of course, and of course the right policies that will favor, their investments. And probably that underscores, the latest visit of the Minister of Information and Culture, that's talking about Lai Mohammed, to Europe and America, of course, to interface with the international community with the hope of correcting whatever, uncharitable impression about Nigeria and the Buhari-led government.
And again, the question to also ask is that to what extent was the minister able to launder the image of Nigeria abroad, and how prepared is the federal government for the next democratic dispensation? Then what policies of the administration will be sustained, and which ones will be reviewed?
All right, there are many questions we will have to ask, but of course we will be having the Minister of Information and Culture himself here in the studio this morning to talk to us, of course, the prompt for his visit and outcome of those visits. And that will be our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Claire Delabo Abdul Razak. It's been raining, as they say, cats and dogs here in Abuja. And it's on that note we welcome you to today's edition. We're broadcasting live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, and indeed Africa's largest TV network. There's no doubt about that.
Exactly, and I am Kieran Umayo, joining my colleague Claire to also welcome you to today's edition of your breakfast show. And we are, of course, reaching you from the capital city of Abuja. Well, you should be expecting the complimentary part of the program which shall be brought to you. They include newspaper review, business, sports, and entertainment. Now, let's go ahead now to start the morning's business with the news highlights. Abdul Malik Adio is our guide. Hello, Abdul Malik.
Many thanks, Kieran and Claire. It's good to be on the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has reaffirmed the commitment of his administration towards fighting smuggling by all means available, towards safeguarding food security, but ensuring that the efforts of hardworking Nigerian farmers are highly respected. The president was speaking at an audience with members of the United Kingdom-based Foundation for Good Governance for Development in Nigeria, who paid him a solidarity visit. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Customs Service is seeking the collaboration of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, and the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, to curb the smuggling of petroleum products outside the country. At a meeting with the chief executives of the agency's Custom Controller General, Ahmed Ali, conversed improved intelligence sharing among the security agencies.
Ensure that this menace of smuggling of petroleum product is reduced.
We are very much appreciative for inviting us to come and show them the level of the issues, and also for his determination to curb this menace.
A committee is going to be set up, and we're going to provide the necessary intelligence and information for quick action.
President Muhammadu Buhari has described as welcoming the acceptance of the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres to co-chair a special session to raise $50 billion towards fighting the inter-basin water transfer from Central Africa to revive Lake Chad. This was while receiving the response of the Secretary General to his earlier letter from the visiting President of the African Development Bank, Nigerians Akinwumi Adesina.
And leaders have to lead. Nigeria is a big economy. Nigeria has to be a powerhouse, and I'm sure that it will be.
Nigeria and the state of Qatar has resolved to deepen and expand areas of collaboration and cooperation between the two countries in critical economic sectors for greater benefit of their citizens. This was the outcome of the high-level talks between President Muhammadu Buhari and the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, during a one-day official visit to the country,
which has huge financial resources, and so they're ready to invest in various areas, and they find Nigeria a very attractive market, and of course they have a lot of faith in Mr. President and his government and the vision of Mr. President going forward. So they're very keen to strengthen the excellent relations that exist between the two countries and start really cooperating with Nigeria at an economical level, but also people-to-people level and diplomatic level as well.
Resolved that Nigeria and Qatar will partner on railways, will partner on aviation, will partner on power, and then will also partner on agriculture.
The Nigerian Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Emmanuel Ibe Kachukwu, has expressed Nigerians' delight for Nigerians' delight for the infrastructure development in the oil sector. The minister said this in Riyadh at a meeting with the Minister of Energy, Industry and Mineral Resources of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Khalid Al-Fali. Dr. Kachukwu is in Saudi Arabia on the directives of President Muhammadu Buhari to explore wide areas of mutual cooperation, especially in the midstream and downstream sector. Kachukwu is also due to discuss global oil market development ahead of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee of OPEC, which will hold in Jeddah early next month. Nigeria was recently co-opted into the specialized committee at the meeting of the council in Baku, Azerbaijan. The elevation of Nigeria to the JMMC was in recognition of the key role Nigeria's Minister of State and Head of Delegation to OPEC, Dr. Kachukwu, played in the diplomatic circles and negotiations that led to the founding of a declaration of cooperation in 2016. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed sadness over reports of killings in some Christian youths during Easter procession Sunday night in Gombe State, and reprisal killing of the law enforcement officials allegedly responsible for the tragic incident. A statement by the presidential assistant on media and publicity, Garba Shehu. The president extended condolence to the families of the victims while wishing the several injured speedy recovery. Joining the Christian Association of Nigeria CAN Gombe State chapter, the state government is appealing for calm. President Muhammadu Buhari also declared the reckless driving as well as the quick restore to self-help and mob actions as unlawful. Similarly, the federal government has condoled with families of the two persons, a Nigeria and a Briton, who were killed in last week's attack in Kajuri Cattle Resort, a popular resort in Kaduna State, promising that the killers will be apprehended and brought to justice. In a statement by the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, through a special assistant, Shegun Adeshina, assured that security agencies are doing everything possible to ensure that the three persons who were killed in the attack are released unarmed. The minister said the dastardly attack that led to the death of Ms. Faye Money, a Britain aid worker, and Matthew Oguche, a Nigerian, while visiting the popular resort is a setback on efforts to promote tourism in the country. The minister, in his message, assured that security agencies will leave no stone unturned in their efforts to apprehend the killers and bring them to justice. Lai Mohammed maintained that the federal government has recently stepped up efforts to curtail violence and banditry in some parts of the country through better intelligence gathering and increased collaboration by the security agencies. Now, terrorism is a complex and dynamic threat that requires comprehensive government approach to be effectively addressed. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, said this in Nigerian Army Infantry Conference Week in Jaji, Kaduna State.
Including the bandits that are causing havoc in the northwest, they don't come from the blues. They all live in the society. If the overall populace sees it as their own responsibility to support the security agencies and by extension the government, it means we are going to resolve every security issue within the quickest possible time.
And still with security matters, the Air Task Force of Operation Dairan Mikia has neutralized not fewer than 10 armed bandits at Sabubu Forest area in Zamfara State. According to NAF Director, Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, this was achieved on April 22nd, 2019, while the ATF was responding to a request for close air support by ground troops of Sector 7 area of responsibility of the Operation Sharon Daji, who had come into contact with armed bandits in Shikafi local government area. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Air Force has taken delivery of two Augusta 109 power attack helicopters, which are currently being assembled for induction during the forthcoming 2019 NAF Day celebration taking place in Abuja from 27th to 29th April 2019. And troops of 72 Special Forces Battalion Makodi deployed for internal security operations in Katina Ala local government area of Benue State have killed 5 militias, recovered arms, vehicles and motorcycles. A statement by Acting Director, Army Public Relations, Colonel Sagir Musa, indicates that the timely intervention prevented the escalation of the clash between the two thieves' clan. The troops responded was sequel to the information received about a planned attack on Katina Ala town. Subsequently, the Special Force ambushed and killed some of the criminals. The Nigerian Army applauded those that provided the information that led to the successful operations, and appealed for more cooperation with security agencies to enhance rapid response to threats. And that's the morning news. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily in unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilets, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's One Capful for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Introducing Dettol Antiseptic Liquid in Sachet for only 40 naira.
Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Getting around heartburn and indigestion can be tricky if you eat too much. Eat food that is too spicy or greasy, or lie down after eating. Heartburn and indigestion could always be around the corner. When they come, be prepared with Gaviscon Double Action. It works within 3 minutes and lasts up to 8 hours. Gaviscon Double Action. Many causes, one solution.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis?
Morphine!
Presenting Mortine's Power Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Mortine's Power Guard.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, welcome back. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. As always, we'll start off with business news, and here is Kulu Mohammed.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Business News. The international oil benchmark Brent crude surged on Monday to its highest level since late October 2018, after the United States President Donald Trump announced a decision to end waivers that allowed some countries to buy crude oil from Iran without facing U.S. sanctions. Brent, against which Nigeria's oil is priced, has risen by about 40% this year, aided primarily by production cuts by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, as well as U.S. sanctions on exports of crude from Iran and Venezuela. The rise in oil prices means further accretion to Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve, which has been increasing in recent months. The 2019 budget proposal presented to the National Assembly in December by President Muhammadu Buhari was based on oil production of 2.3 million barrels per day, with an oil benchmark price of $60 per barrel. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele has allayed fears that planned exit by Britain from the European Union will have adverse effect on Nigeria. The governor clarified that even though Britain and Nigeria has trade relationship, Britain isn't one of Nigeria's major trading partners compared to business relations with China and the United States of America. The International Monetary Fund Managing Director, Christine Lagarde, had listed Brexit and trade tensions between the US and China as the major downside risk to the global economy. And finally, the stock market ended towards the bearish sentiment. And on how the market indices played out on Tuesday, here is a graphic summary. That's Business News. I'm Kolo Muhammad. Many thanks for your time.
Kolo Mohammed with Business News. And next on Good Morning Nigeria is Newspaper Review.
All right, it's a wet morning, and Bayo Atoyobe is right here with us. Bayo.
You can tell me. On wet mornings, if you're so reluctant to get out of bed. Good morning, Claire.
Thank
good
you.
morning, Kirian, and good morning, Nigeria.
All right,
Kirian. We have 4 national dailies here with us this morning. I have a leadership newspaper, of course, a Nigerian Tribune. So you have 2 others there. All right, now let's start with the leadership newspaper for this morning. And let's go straight to the lead story on the leadership newspaper. Hope rises as UN offers to raise $50 billion for Lake Chad. With a rider, PMB Guterres to co-chair fundraising session. It's on page 4. And below that, NAF to acquire 18 fighter jets. With a rider, kills 10 bandits in Zamfara. And towards the bottom of the newspaper, 19 die in Jigawa auto crash. It's on page 37. And we have other stories. ISIS claims responsibility for Sri Lanka bombings. It's on page 6. Now, budget knocks Cross River over 180-year railway debt. Page 31 is where you get that story. And then Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority threatens to pull down 7,000 telecom masts. That will be across the nation. It's on page 27. Oil price hits $74.58, 2019 high. It's on page 5. And of course, the election petition cases rise to 776. You can find details on page 14.
All right, also leading with a similar story in the front page of Daily Trust. AFDB, African Development Bank President Adesina, how Buhari is sourcing for $50 billion to revive Lake Chad. That's the lead story right there on the front page. And of course, you see the smiling faces there of the AFDB president in a warm handshake with the President Muhammadu Buhari right there after the AFDB's president's visit to the State House in Abuja yesterday. Of course, there are other stories trending right under the nameplate. 19 die in Jigawa road crash, unfortunately. The details of that story you can find on page 4. And the big one, Buhari visits Lagos today, and he will be visiting Borno the day after. That's, okay, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow, details of that on page 3. And 95 million subscribers have invalid SIM data. That's NCC, page 16. And let me take you a little below the, that's at the foot of the paper. There are other trending stories there. ASU rejects proposal for Buhari University. Details of that on page 4. And speakership, Dogara loyalist in fix over Gbajabia Mila on page 13. An innovative child malaria vaccine test starts, according to World Health Organization, page 5. That should interest everyone. And from the front page, Daily Independent, Falana, Balarabe, Musa blame Obasanjo for Nigeria's woes. You want to read up details of that? That's the lead story on the front page. Quite a busy front page, if you ask me. Just below the picture story, Reps speakership, Onye Georgia asks Gbajabia Miller to step down. And there are two riders there. I'm still very much in the race, says Bago, and you're power hungry, Dogara replies Tinubu. And on the right column also, PDP rejects Justice Oyewole on Osun Guba poll appeal panel. Details of that on page 11. Buhari vows to deal with smugglers stifling farmers' progress. It's on page 41. And panel recommends dismissal of SEC DG Gwarzo. And there are other stories just a little above the nameplate. But let me just put a stop now. Bayo.
Yes, there's good news coming from the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. He's to co-chair with President Muhammadu Buhari to raise $50 billion as a means of recharging Lake Chad. This was indicated by the President of African Continental Bank, Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, while he visited the President. It will be recalled that the President has always hammered on the strive to recharge the Lake Chad. This is a plan to take water, interbasin water, from Central African Republic to recharge Lake Chad. And it is believed that the economy of the West African sub-region, particularly the border countries of Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger, will be boosted considerably and will also eliminate the challenges of insurgency in that sub-region. The other challenge now is the Nigerian Civil Aviation has warned that it is going to pull down about 7,000 masts because they are in flight pathway, and that is very dangerous. The report is saying that there are about 40,000 masts erected across the country, 7,000 of them belonging to communication companies are in the pathway in the sense that they didn't get civil aviation clearance. It doesn't happen in broadcasting. For the time I had to work in the National Broadcasting Commission, if you are granted a license before you start establishing it, particularly your transmission mast, you must get an aviation height clearance certificate before you be allowed to erect the mast and commence broadcasting. I'm surprised that that is becoming a challenge for the telecom industry, and something has to be done about it. So the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has given notice after 30 days. If those of them who have them do not produce aviation clearance certificate, they will be compelled to pull them down.
But Bayo, I mean, something should have been done, before it got out of hand.
Yes, is it like a cart of putting the cart before the horse? Before you establish a mast, there are authorities that you have to go to for approval. Even there is a basic standard. There must be an indication of the mast height, the color in which you paint the mast, red and white usually, and also you have to put a beacon, red light on it. Yes. So these are the basic requirements.
But where were the aviation authority when those masts were being erected?
That's
they're erected in one day. So there should be a monitoring mechanism, for all these regulatory bodies to be able to do their work effectively and efficiently. Otherwise, they would have been stopped ever before the masts were completely erected.
That reminds me about the reaction of some housing authorities. A house is built and you say the house was built illegally. Houses don't sprout like mushroom overnight. They are built gradually. Masts are built gradually. Where were they, like you were saying?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
There's another one related to that, Bayo.
Yes.
It's the one that says fraudulently registered SIM card users risk 25 years imprisonment.
Yes. This is to check the abuses of fraudulent SIM card. They have been identified as accessory for criminals, which they use for crime.
And there are 95 millions
of such. Yes. If you recall, there was a telecom agency that was fined massively for indulging in registering telecom subscribers without passing through the normal procedure. It is all intended to check these abuses.
All right, let's return to newspapers now. Let's take a Nigerian Tribune. Above the nameplate of Nigerian Tribune, 360 children in Malawi, Kenya, Ghana to receive world's first malaria vaccine. That's on page 4. Kwara Assembly passes bill to stop new government from dissolving local governments. Is on page 36. Justice Oyewole not on Osun Governorship Election Appeal Tribunal, says Appeal Court. Page 36 has that story. Now, article citizenship, that's the kicker. APC not sincere, says Fanana, page 2. Is where you get the story. And now below the nameplate of the Tribune, you have Dogara bombs Tinubu, you are pursuing fascist agenda to control Nigeria. Page 4 is where you find that story. There are 5 died, 3 injured as jilted lover sets girlfriend's house ablaze. On page 30. Agric loans, that's the kicker. Buhari directs CBN ministry to bypass collateral. Page 34 also has that story. Now the lead story, the Nigerian Tribune, is more trouble for Onogen. EFCC drafts charges for fresh trial. With a rider, how NJC probe panel voted. Page 8 is where you can get all the stories. And now below the photograph here, we have a 2019 poll, most depressing, says Wole Soyinka. You can read that up on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune.
It was that story that you read about Falana and some other politicians blaming a former president for the woes of Nigeria. It was, in fact, at a book launch in Lagos. A former governor of Ogun State, Aremo Segun Osoba, says that agitation for restructuring by some elite is a blatant lie. He says that most proponents do not clearly define what they want, but their body language always indicate that they want creation of state. He said this at the presentation of the minority report of the 1976 draft constitution. The minority report was joint work of Segun Osoba and late Dr. Bala Usman. It was presented by Center for Democratic Development Research and Training, headed by Dr. Abubakar Siddiq in Zaria.
So this issue of, restructuring, people talking about now, from what Falana said, that the people who are agitating for that really want states created. But here we are in a country where the number of states that we have cannot afford to pay salaries, to their workers, and you're trying to create more states. I'm just saying what other people are, other perspective from other people, as to say, look, if we must restructure, there has to be a template for it. There has to be a template for it. You have to decide whether it's going to be a physical restructuring, geographical restructuring, or fiscal, So how do we start? If it's a good project, it has to have a template that could be, followed diligently to be able to achieve it. Otherwise, it will just be...
Restructuring has several meanings for several persons. Some is the creation of states. For some is going back to regionalism. For others, it is resource control. There are several meanings for restructuring. But that is to tell you that there are concerns. But this report is referring to the Constitution Drafting Committee of 1976, the prelude to the 1979 Constitution.
All right, gentlemen, Kieran and Bayo, let's look at the editorial, and it's an interesting one. The title is Zamfara, Go for Gold. Well, if you read this editorial, you will get a fuller understanding of that, caption. Let me just give you an insight. It says at the beginning, a revelation that 353 billion naira worth of gold smuggled out of the country, take note of that, smuggled out of the country, was sold in the international market, and that is a wake-up call for more responsible governance in the country. Now, that's the thrust of this editorial. It goes down to say that it is estimated that gold mining in Zamfara alone could fetch up to $2 billion per year when properly organized. So what's the concern of this paper? It says that ultimately Nigeria should face the reality that in 2012, before, of course, talking about the governor of Kaduna State, described Nigeria as a federation without federalism. He said, well, quite a number of issues, being thrown up by this paper. But the concern is the, quantum of gold being smuggled out of the country. And Zamfara is at the center of it.
I quickly draw attention to a Nigerian lady, a student from Metamasule University, who has been arrested in Saudi Arabia with drug. And they found out, when she complained, they found out that there is a syndicate at the airport. 6 persons have been arrested that lay drugs on the baggage of persons. They traveled, 3 of them. 2 of their baggages weighed about 37 kg. Another weighs 17. So those persons put the drug, tramadol, on her baggage. And so eventually, when the parent wrote a petition, NDLEA in Kano found out and saw photographs of those baggages of tramadol on the WhatsApp platform of some of the staff. And they traced it to a man, his name is Gabari, who is on the run now.
What airport is this?
Malam Aminu Kano Airport. In fact, 2 persons have been arrested from those 2 drugs that were padded on their baggages by those 2 persons. So some of these persons are innocent. But the good thing is that when it comes to Hajj, the National Hajj Commission has a very effective way of checking. You cannot take drugs. It is the medical team that will help you take drugs. So off-season lesser Hajj is amenable to this. Let's go quickly to Zamfara. The story is saying that there's a lot of potentials in gold in Zamfara, but illegal artisan mining are making a lot of money from it. And therefore, Zamfara state government should get its act together and benefit from it. And it gives an example. It says that if you go back to the budget of Zamfara State for 2017, the budget was about 115 billion. Internally generated revenue was estimated about 4.7. So if they take advantage of gold, they stand a very good chance of boosting their internally generated revenue. And the good news is this. It's not only Zamfara. Most states in the northwest have gold. And if you broaden it, there's hardly any state in this country that does not have one solid mineral or the other. That's very, very, very viable.
That's exactly where I wanted to go, because I had the privilege, of covering mines and ministry, and I came to understand that there is no single state that does not have 1 or 2 or 3 or more. Kogi and of course Nasarawa, down the top on the list of those who have the highest number. But the idea of gold, like you said, the San Francisco government should leverage on that. Do they have the constitutional right to do that? Do they have that?
This paper answers your question.
Yes.
It says the Zamfara state government should take up the challenge by seizing on the federal offer for licensing.
Now you're talking.
Yes, for licensing. And again, just before we round up, it says state governors should stop relying on oil revenues but pursue a program of self-reliance. And this paper goes on to mention Kebbi, Ebonyi. Of course, that are pointing the way forward. Kebbi reportedly generated 150 billion naira from rice production in 2017, while Ebonyi targets 48 billion.
Any wonder why the editorial is saying Zamfara, go for gold?
All right. The time is up, Bayo. My red flag is up for you.
For today's analysis.
Thank you.
See you again tomorrow on this same platform. This is Good Morning Nigeria. We take a break now. When we come back, we'll move into the major topic for today.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new best ever Dettol Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
My name is Smart. I'm a professional electrician, and I only use the best cables in Nigeria. Nokako is one of Nigeria's most leading cable manufacturers. Nokako carries out rigorous quality control tests on its products at every stage of the production process, so its high quality is maintained throughout the full length of the conductor that meets both national and international standards. These cables are manufactured in a state-of-the-art cables and wire plant equipped with the most advanced machinery and processes. Nokako is certified by the Standard Organization of Nigeria and is an NIS Diamond Award winner.
Be like Smart by Nokako.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
All right. right, if you've just tuned in, this is the network service of the NTA and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Earlier on, we told you that the Minister of Information and Culture had cause to visit, of course, Europe and America to discuss some issues that, of course, bother on post-election matters and governance. Oyeyemi Ajayi will, of course, lead us with this background report.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed's visit to the United States and the United Kingdom recently was to shape the international perception about Nigeria, as well as intimate the Western powers of the diverse investment opportunities available in Nigeria. Interaction at both countries focused on priorities of the Buhari administration, with the second term as well as policies to strengthen the economy, the fight against corruption, as well as address challenges of insecurity in the country. During the interview with BBC, VOA, Sky TV, Al Jazeera, Washington Post, Reuters, and other media organizations, the minister explained that the $5 billion in the foreign investment secured after the recent elections signaled that the international community share Nigeria's positive outlook and confidence in the Buhari administration. The minister met with investors, lawyers, the business community, and diplomats with ties to Nigeria with the motive to convince them to invest in Nigeria. The President Buhari administration is working on making Nigeria assume its pride of place in the international space. This, the minister says, Nigeria has had a strong relationship with the world with continuous developmental growth. It could be said that the visit was quite successful, as it is believed that the purpose of the visit was met majorly to correct the negative perception about Nigeria and Nigerians. But then, how does the federal government intend to consolidate on the gains of the last 4 years, and what will be its priorities for the next 4 years? How prepared is government for the business of governance? What is the blueprint for nipping security challenges in the bud? And what is the framework for attracting more foreign direct investments into the country? Answers to these and more questions are expected shortly on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, Oyeyemi, for that background report. And let's go straight ahead to officially welcome our guest, who is already seated with us here in the studio. He's no other than the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Kira.
It's a wet morning. We have to bring you out.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. But you are here already.
Yes, Honorable Minister, you just returned, from a tour of Europe and America. Of course, we have explained to the audience, your mission and all that. I would like you to begin to talk to us from the angle of the just concluded election in Nigeria, which, of course, triggered some perspectives as to whether it was free, fair, and what have you. So, how did you present this situation to the international community?
Well, thank you, Kiran. Fortunately, the international community actually knew already from the reports of their international observers that the elections were free, fair, and credible. I remember one of the think tanks we met was the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington. And essentially, they also sent observers, election observers to Nigeria 2019 elections. They were not comfortable with the fact that the elections were postponed because they were under the wrong impression that the postponement was triggered by the executive arm of government, and they felt that the opposition probably suffered some disadvantage. And I said, no. As a matter of fact, the government had no hand at all in the delay or postponement, and that for instance, I was in Kwara State and was livid when I heard about the postponement. Mr. President was already in Daura, ready to vote, and I pointed out to them that we have a fiercely independent Electoral Commission, and the government does not interfere, especially this administration. I also referred them to what happened in 2015. That, I mean, in 2015, elections were actually postponed for 6 weeks, but that time around it was actually due to interference from that government. So I explained at every opportunity that the elections were free and fair, as attested to by both domestic and international observers, and that any attempt by anybody to try to delegitimize the choice of Nigerians or the election is quite disappointing and very irresponsible. But I don't think we had any issue convincing the international community about how fair and free the elections were. And I think a pointer to the fact that the international community actually believes that the elections were free and fair is the statement by the central bank governor that post-February-March election, there has been $5 billion investment in Nigeria, and I think that talks a lot about the confidence that the international investing community has in Nigeria and the next, level of administration.
Okay, as you rightly said, the international observers who came to observe elections, of course, did have their report, which was positive. Obviously, that wasn't the only thing that prompted your visit. Could you give us more insight into what?
No, you are quite correct, Claire. I went there actually to market this administration. Unfortunately, had a good product to sell.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there to reiterate and promote the successes of this administration in the last 4 years, and also to assure the international community that the next 4 years will even be better. My tour took me not just to media houses, as you can see. I was also with various think tanks, such as the Council on Foreign Relations, such as the Atlantic Council, such as the Center for Strategic and International Studies, and others. And then also we also met with powerful individuals, international stakeholders who normally mold opinions about Nigeria. And our message was very clear that within 4 years, we delivered on our promises to tackle insecurity, to fight corruption, and also to revamp the economy. And like I said, I had a good product, so selling it was quite easy. And interestingly enough, many of the people we met also, especially people like Ambassador John Campbell, who was American ambassador to Nigeria, I think between 2003 and 2007, and who actually presides over the Council of Foreign Relations, was quite knowledgeable about the situation in the Northeast. You see, what we sold to them, which is the truth, is that prior to 2015, the Boko Haram strolled to any capital that they wished at any time of their choice. And in particular, this capital, Abuja, witnessed and experienced the sad and tragic, activities of Boko Haram, that United Nations headquarters or the police headquarters or the Nyanya Park. And we have quickly forgotten that 4 or 5 years ago, Boko Haram was active in at least 10 states of the Federation. As a matter of fact, they were already in Kogi. They were moving towards Lagos before we came in. Now, the truth of the matter is that today, they've been banished to Tumbus Island, which is outside Nigeria. Oh yes, they do make occasional forage into Nigeria. But it is not like when they actually held territory, had an administration, collected taxes, had a judiciary. I was listening yesterday to a young man when who came to visit the president. He said he remembered that his own town, Mobi, was rechristened Al-Madina by Boko Haram. Now you see, so people who dismiss the efforts of this administration in containing Boko Haram are people who have actually forgotten too quickly what it was before, what it is today. Prior to 2015, 17 local governments in Borno State alone was under the effective occupation of Boko Haram. About 4 in Adamawa and about 2 in Yobe. Now, so you must admit and give credit to this administration in what you've done in containing Boko Haram. Remembering also that terrorism is a global issue. That is why one of the messages we went to deliver was that we still need more regional and global partners. Already we are grateful to a lot of our partners, actually regional and international. We're very grateful to the multinational joint task force, which is made up of countries like Chad, Niger, Cameroon, who have helped a lot in containing Boko Haram. We're also very grateful to the US, who has provided us with platforms, training for our military, and we've held our military. They've held several joint exercises with AFRICOM and other multinational joint forces. But for that, Boko Haram would have probably engulfed the whole nation. So we have a proud record that we went to sell.
Okay.
Sorry, Minister. We will eventually get to some specifics.
Yes.
Right. Because after Boko Haram, Nigeria is currently experiencing banditry, kidnapping, and all of that.
Absolutely.
But we'll get to that.
Right.
Because that also has to do with
yes.
people who want to come and invest in Nigeria.
Yes.
But I want to take you back to Europe and America, where you returned from, with respect to the fact that Nigerians in the diaspora also play a major role in the marketing project that we have just exhibited over there. Now, we want to know how are they taking your message? Because these are Nigerians who have relations here, who are also getting a feedback, whether wrong or right, but they get feedback as well. So were you able to also interact with Nigerians in diaspora because of the inevitable role that they have to play in also marketing Nigeria as those who are residing, in those countries?
Yes, in particular in London, we had this Norton Rose Fulbright breakfast, which was a breakfast meeting, actually organized largely by Nigerians, Nigerians who have done very well in the UK, Nigerians who are actually partners in the Norton Rose Fulbright law firm, which is reputed to be the second biggest law firm in the UK. And then we had many Nigerians also who are president of what they call Mile Square, which I think is the heart of business in the UK. So you can see that our meeting in the UK in particular revolved around Nigerians in diaspora, Nigerians who on their own are also marketing, Nigeria, who actually coordinated our meetings with investors, with business men, with the oil giants, with diplomats with ties to Nigeria, and with people who actually have invested already in Nigeria or who want to come to Nigeria. So we do not underestimate the importance of Nigerian diaspora. But for time, normally we usually have a town hall meeting or town hall meetings also with Nigerians in diaspora.
Okay, let me take you back. I'd like to take you back to the issue of security, which you obviously you had a good market, you had a good product to market, and you did. But with regards to the broadcast houses that you visited, the BBC, the Al Jazeera, VOA and all that, what was their major concern, given the fact of the recent banditry, and your interactions with them change their perception and their reportage of the security issues in the country?
You see, what I found extremely pleasant was the understanding by many of these broadcasters of this situation in Nigeria. Because I remember when I was with the VOA, incidentally, the VOA is actually a very prominent Nigerian as the VOA, service, Hausa service, and he conducted the interview. Now, and I was pleasantly surprised that they had also done documentaries about the situation in Nigeria, and they were not quite alien to the situation in Nigeria. Now, you see, they did express concern about what's happening in the Northwest, about the banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling. But we actually also had the opportunity to let them know exactly what the government has been doing, not just now, over time, in containing this banditry. Now, you see, very long time ago, I think as early as about July or so last year, there was this Sharandaji, Operation Sharandaji, which was aimed at containing the banditry, cattle rustling, kidnapping in Zamfara State alone. In Zamfara State in particular. But then when they now found out that these bandits could easily slip into Katsina, could easily slip into Sokoto, and because that belt of forest between Zamfara, it goes down straight to Beniguari in Kaduna State. That is when the military now changed their tactics. And then we had the Abi Kunama. Now, the Abi Kunama is an operation which is supported by the military and the Air Force, and also by the police, to ensure that the entire, belt of, Katsina, Sokoto, Kano, part of Beniguari, part of Kaduna State, are actually addressed. And I must say that in recent time, we've had a harvest, of criminals. Many of them have been neutralized. Catches of, arms and ammunition have been recovered. But the government does not believe just in the kinetic approach to these issues. We also, believe that the non-kinetic approach is important. So we look at the remote and immediate causes of this, banditry, many of which are found in actually probably non-inclusion, lack of social and economic inclusion in some cases. But again, we found out that, in Zamfara State in particular, the illegal mining was a source of instability. Because most of the people, and that's what the first thing the federal government did recently, was to ban illegal mining and also expel all foreign illegal, all illegal foreign miners. Because people begin to ask, what is the nexus between instability in Zamfara, kidnapping and banditry, and illegal mining? A lot. Because for instance, if you are doing illegal mining, ab initio is illegal. So the more unsettled the area is, the better for you. And we found out that a lot of ammunition and money was being funneled to these bandits by the illegal miners, so as to make the place ungovernable. The more ungovernable the place is, the better for the illegal miners. Now, but our militaries have gone beyond that. They've also, on their own, organized town hall meetings to actually find, the real and remote causes of some of this, instability. And we found out that, military found out that a lot of them, can actually be, wooed back from insurgency if they actually get the right, picture of what the government has been doing to ensure that there's social and economic inclusiveness.
Sorry, Karen. I asked that question because if you watch the way the foreign media report our issues, the general, concept or belief is that they help to portray, the country in a negative light. So, are we going to have, with your visit now, are we likely to have a change in the reportage of issues here?
Yeah,
are they going to be more thorough?
No, Claire, you see, the real import of our visit was to change the narrative.
Precisely.
And get the right perspective. We owe it a duty to our people and to our country to ensure that the outside world, and even the domestic community, gets the right narrative and the right, picture. And honestly, we must give credit to our military and our police. They are stretched. The police launched Operation Pofada, which covers not just Kaduna State. It extends to Kogi, it extends to Katsina, it extends to Sokoto, it extends to Zamfara. And they have made a lot of success of it. On the 14th of April, they neutralized about 11 of these kidnappers. Were able to recover 6 AK-47 rifles, about 1,200 rounds of ammunition. Shortly after that, they were able to arrest those kidnappers that kidnapped the channel's correspondent. Mm. And then, when you look at what is happening in the northwest, also especially in Zamfara, a lot of progress has been made in containing this, this situation. So it's not as if the military is not doing anything about it, they're doing a lot. But when you look at the kind of operation they have, we are tackling insurgency in the northeast. We are in Lagos and southwest is Operation Awase, which is targeting cultists, which is targeting pipeline vendors, which is targeting kidnappers. In the Delta area, Bayelsa is Operation Safe Delta. In Plateau, we have Operation Safe Haven. In Benue, we have Wild Stroke. In Kaduna, Benugwari, we have Wild Punch. And you see, and we have, and recently the military embarked what called 777, which is an operation of consolidating in 77 days the various operations in these 7 different areas of the federation. And I think we must give credit to our to our military and our police, because the issues differ from regions to regions. Like I said, in the Niger Delta area, it's about pipeline vandalization. In the southwest, about cultism and kidnapping. In Benue, Taraba, it's about herdsmen farmers clashes. In the Plateau State, it's about partly herdsmen farmers, partly ethnicity. There's the Jokum, TV, and in all these issues, you can see that our military and our police are up and doing.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your explanations, because, of course, you are touching the very the nucleus of this conversation. And this program, of course, Claire, is a kind of a characterization of an omnibus. So we'll take you from any angle. Right. But in your last comment, with respect to what's happening in Zamfara, that brings to focus the fact that the president himself has consistently maintained that there cannot be any successful banditry or kidnapping or communal clashes without the support of leaders of the communities that these activities are taking place. Now, we talked about the Zamfara issue, where even some leaders have been arrested, the people who are informants have been arrested, and what have you. I brought up this issue because of the way people perceive the current
president and the re-elected president. From your visit abroad, how do they perceive the re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari, considering some of these successes, that he has recorded in security and other sectors? We're able really to market the big fish.
Like I said, Mr. President is a very easy product to market. Don't forget that when the New York Post wrote the editorial about Nigerian election, it said the re-election of Mr. President was a referendum on integrity. Now, the truth of the matter is that Mr. President has returned integrity and decency to Nigeria. Mr. President was not only, made the champion of anti-corruption by the African Union, but even the United Nations Office of, Crime and Drugs actually recognized, is total zero tolerance for corruption. And this morning I was pleasantly surprised to see a very unlikely person supporting Mr. President's, fight against corruption. That's Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka. So that shows you that Mr. President has established himself as an anti-corruption sir. Now, but that's not the only thing that actually endears, Mr. President to the international community. I think what we'll be able to achieve in the area of the economy has been well accepted. Mr. President has nurtured through the economic, recovery and growth plan. He has been able to nurture an economy from recession back to stability. And we've witnessed 6 consecutive quarters of growth. We've been able to bring down inflation from 18.5% to 11.3%. We're able to grow our foreign reserve from 28.7 billion to 45 billion. And then in the area of reforms, our reforms have earned us accolades both by the World Bank in the ease of doing business ranking. We climb about 23 steps. In the Mo Ibrahim Index of Good Governance, we climb 6 steps. So we also, some initiatives such as the, National Single Window, which is an e-platform, which now allows you to register a company online, file tax returns online, do trading online. That has helped in, promoting and and attracting foreign businesses. Then also in the area of the economy, we must not forget also that the currency used to be at about 5.25 naira to $1, but it's now naturally coalescing and coming to 360 naira $1. So in the area of the economy,
black market.
I don't have a black market. Now,
officially, it's not as
I don't have a black market. Now, you see, but what I'm saying is clear that even black market in those days was okay. Well, black market today probably 370, 365, but that's a far cry from 520, 530, 550 that we used to change in 2016. So in the area of the economy, some of the steps and reforms we have taken are yielding fruit. Then, but I think that what actually excited the international community most was what we've done in the area of agriculture. Now, in the area of agriculture today, we're almost self-sufficient, at least in rice. Before, we knew we used to spend about $5 million every day importing rice. Of course, rice is still smuggled in, but that's different. As now we can now use the money which we used which we spend to pay rice bill for other things, and that is why we've been successful, in our drive. And then there's so much to say,
Yes,
in fact, you see, in fighting corruption, like I said before, look, don't judge us just by the number of convictions that have been made or not. Judge us by the kind of, initiatives we've taken. the faithful implementation of the TSA, the single, treasury account, has helped a lot. The simple has helped a lot in consolidating our resources, in bringing transparency and accountability to governance.
Okay, I'll just ask you one question still on the economy, but I'd wanted to take you on another important aspect in security. But you talked about the fact that they were very, appreciative of our economic plans. Are there specifics? Are there specifics, especially for international investors, for instance, are there specific aspects of our economic plan, that attracted?
Claire, some of the reforms we've made in even the oil and gas industry, which has led to reduction in cost of, oil production, has led to a lot of investment also in that area. But overall, Claire, like I said, post-election, that's between February, March, and today, we've witnessed $5 billion investment in Nigeria. I think there's no better testimony to the confidence of the international investing community than that.
In the ease of doing business, in terms of safe environment?
Well, you see, in terms of doing ease of business, in terms of safe environment, yes, because what we are saying that Nigeria is a safe place to invest. Nigeria welcomes investors. Nigeria is embarking on reforms and initiatives that would encourage investors to come. That's the message we're sending. And in the area of security, I've just outlined the various ongoing efforts by government to contain, the volatilities and the violence, the insecurity in all the years. But overall, 3-4 years ago, Nigeria is a better place, it's a safer place.
All right, Honourable Minister, I think we should take a break now, and when we return, Honourable Minister, we're going to look into other sectors such as infrastructure. We'll talk about power, water, more of agriculture, because we've achieved a lot in rice, but there are other crops we're going to talk about. And so this is Good Morning Nigeria, and we have been speaking with the Honourable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. We will continue with him after this break.
Team huddle.
But we lost.
Don't be tired, guys. This isn't a loss. It's a practice for winning.
Nothing makes a mother prouder than seeing her child growing up. But I know as he learns to lead, he'll face even more dirt, germs, and risk of illness.
That's why in changing seasons, you need strong Dettol protection. Because Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Can I see your particulars, sir?
Officer, my particulars no dey here.
In that case, you'll have to come with me to the police station.
Officer, which levels? Where I for find you something make you take arrange your weekend.
What? Offense number 1, driving without particulars. Offense number 2, trying to bribe an officer of the law.
I won't harass Nigerians or take bribe. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we are having a conversation, of course, with the Minister of Information and Culture on his visit to Europe and America, of course, to have a tete-a-tete with the international community on post-election matters and governance. Honorable Minister, Kirian had a question for you.
Yes, I was thinking of the issue of fake news in Nigeria. I listened to BBC commentary a long time ago on the issue of fake news in Nigeria, which they specifically mentioned that fake news is actually fueling, the herdsmen, farmers classes. But there are so many untrue stories, coming out, especially on the social media platforms, and that has exacerbated, the entire situation. Now, how did you handle that issue of fake news, coming from Nigeria when you visited America and Europe for, you're going to market this administration?
Fortunately for us, the issue of fake news is a global phenomenon. And many countries, including the US and everybody, suffer also from fake news. But we're able to tell the international community what steps we've been taking in combating fake news in Nigeria. And it's a good thing that, as far back as 2017, my ministry, we were aware that the greatest threat to our democracy could be fake news. That's when we organized this National Council on Information conference, which was dedicated to, tackling and addressing the issue of fake news. After which we started this campaign against fake news, and we've taken our campaign to various media houses, and it's ongoing. Now, you can see how fake news actually almost derailed even the 2019 elections. If what was being what we read, what was being discussed on the social media was anything to go by, the result of the election would have been otherwise. But I think the important thing for me is that the outcome of 2019 election actually shows that Nigerians are quite sophisticated, and that Nigerians can actually make distinguish between real news and fake news. Now, you see, the outcome of the elections, really the triumph of Mr. President, has shown that the people who benefit directly from government would always reward that government with re-election. And I think the good thing the government did was to have bypassed the elites, the delivery of its most important programs, such as the school feeding program, the social investment program as a whole, such as the Anchor Bra program. So, and that is why you can see that the masses of Nigerians actually voted for Mr. President because they felt the impact of his governance. You see, a government that feeds 9 million plus children, gives them a free meal a day, every school day of the year. That kind of government is touching the common man. It's touching the lives of the common man. A government that embarks on agricultural reforms and makes credit accessible to those who normally wouldn't have had that kind of access, and who grows the number of rice farmers from 5 to 11 million, would of course win elections, because those people are benefiting directly from the activity of government. And then when you go to the area of infrastructure, and that's the one area where this administration has exceeded and has done better than any administration. And I say this with all sorts of modesty. 2016-2017, this government spent 2.7 trillion naira on infrastructure. Today, there's no single cell of the federation where one road construction or the other is not going. Not one. We have been able to revive our rail system. The Lagos Ibadan standard gauge is being tested. I'm happy that we were on the same trip when it was being. We were on the same trip when we were inspecting the progress. Now it's been tested on. The Itakpe, Wari, Ajakuta is already, being run also. The Kaduna, Abuja has become overbooked. As a matter of fact, we are working on a situation where we are
It's overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, yes.
That's the right word.
Yes, thank you. We are working so where there will be at least one train every hour on the on the Abuja, Kaduna, rail. Then in the area of roads, we've invested and we are harvesting on these roads. I always give examples: the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which we met abandoned, which is almost completed; the Benin-Ore, the Benin-Shagamu-Ore, which is now like an express road; the Ilorin-Jeba-Makwa Road, which has cut travel time between Ilorin and Jeba from 2 days to 2 hours, and I personally undertook a visit to the southeast, from Enugu to Port, from Enugu to Onitsha to see the constructions.
Did you go by road?
I did. I flew to Enugu and went by road from Enugu to Onitsha, went by road from Enugu to Port, so that I stopped at every point to see what was going on. The Niger second Niger bridge is progressing very well, and in the next 2-3 years we are going to see the completion of many of these roads, and not to talk about the most ambitious project of government, which is the hydro power in Taraba State. So we are quite focused on infrastructure. We believe that the only way out of underdevelopment is by providing, infrastructure.
These are critical areas described as critical infrastructures that the administration, is said it's spent on completing, before the end of the second tenure. With regards to the Niger Bridge, still there are talks about whether or not work is going there, what extent, the work has progressed, and also the Eastern Rail Corridor, which traverses Port Harcourt, Maiduguri, and is expected to pass through major cities and towns in the east. We also would like you to tell us, what stage of work has gone on.
Claire, I can assure you that our rail program will ensure that no state capital will be left out. That is our master plan, and we're doing it in phases. 2, people who talk about second Niger Bridge, many of them talk out of ignorance. They don't even know where it is. Many of them think that if they stay on the old Niger Bridge, they can see the condition.
At the bridgehead.
At the bridgehead. No, this is an alignment. You cannot see the second Niger Bridge at the end of the old one. So many of them who speak will see nothing because they are ignorant. They have never even been there before. I've been there. And I went there with over 25, 30 journalists. And I know that one of the things the government did was to ensure that 5 critical infrastructure would not suffer from funding. That is the East-West Road, Second Niger Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Abuja-Kano Expressway, and the hydroelectric power in Manila. Manila.
Abuja, Kano, is it the expressway or the railroad?
Expressway, yes. That those 5 infrastructure will not survive. That's why we're working with the National Sovereign Investment Authority to ensure that about $1.3 billion has been allocated for those 5 critical projects. And it covers the whole of the country. So we are committed, we are focused on providing infrastructure, and no part of Nigeria will be left untouched.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much indeed for giving us a catalogue, of some of the specific projects, being backed upon by the current administration. But taking you a little bit back, we understand that some of the, in fact, most of the projects, especially in the southeast of Nigeria, where you have currently 69 projects, ongoing, most of them were indeed awarded before the advent of this administration. And that, according to the Minister of Power, he noted that most of those projects were either abandoned or not properly funded. Now, what I wanted to tell Nigerians is, what are you doing differently in terms of funding? Because these contracts have been awarded over the years. You've mentioned the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, where it's a traditional route that has seen so many budget allocations over the years, and likewise Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway, Enugu-Onitsha Expressway, and the likes in the southeast of Nigeria, and especially, and again, elsewhere across the nation. So how are you going about the funding? Because the essence of it all is to get them completed. If they're not completed, then it will become the same old story.
Just as Kirian has said about funding, we had the Minister of Transportation here with us, and he did say that to complete the whole rail project will go up about $3.6 billion. That's huge.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the government is looking for $3 trillion in the next 30 years to ensure that critical infrastructure of the country is completed. Now, how do we fund it? I think the first step that the government took was in the implementation of the single treasury account. Before now, the federal government had about 22,000 accounts in different banks, paying charges and levies on these accounts, not even knowing what was where. But with the single treasury account being implemented, every revenue of government, every payment is made to one single. So it gives the government the opportunity to know exactly how much money it has, and they can allocate such, to what is priority to government. That's the first thing the government does. Two is that you can see that this government is building a lot of, support. Is building relationship with foreign, countries. It's reaching out to global partners, many of whom are also helping, including the African Development Bank in infrastructure. The president of the African Development Bank was with the president yesterday, and he, according to him, I think about almost $6.5 billion has been advanced to Nigeria in terms of infrastructure development over the years. So, but what we do, especially at the Federal Executive Council meeting, is that when you bring a project, for it to be approved, you must tell us what is the source of funding. Is it covered in this year's, budgetary, proposal or approval? If it is not, you have to take it back. That way, we're not going to end up with unbalanced projects all over the country. But it's about husbandry. It's about transparency, about accountability. It's about using what you have to achieve what the people want. And one thing credit must give to this administration, that we are doing much more with much less.
Is there any PPP arrangement in some of the infrastructure?
Many of them. I think another thing we've done very well, and I must give credit to both, especially the Minister of Parks and Housing, is that he has made to reach out to leading industrials and manufacturers. And we have this PPP agreement, with people like Dangote, with people like Abuja, and other organizations, flour mills, where there's an arrangement for them to take care of the critical infrastructure around their areas of operation. It's a win-win situation for both government and them, because for them it improves their businesses. It makes it more profitable. Then it also it lessens the burden of government. But over the years, deductions are made. In other words, these things are tax deductible. So if you invest, say, about ₦1 billion you provide roads that lead to your factory. Well, you provide the road, people use it, your company uses it, but over time, we now debit you. In other words, if you are supposed to be paying 100, million naira a month tax, it is deferred until the cost of the investment is made. And this is being worked out by all the parties. Of course, there are complaints here and there, but overall, I think no country develops without this kind of PPP arrangement.
Let's look at the bigger picture for 2019. Of course, we know that there are plans to sustain the yields of the economic plans, but one big aspect that has been a challenge for us is the area of job creation, unemployment, and all that. And this government plans to leverage a lot of fiscal policies, like of course the Anchor Bora program,
the SIP, the power,
precisely. Can you speak more of that? So,
well, you see, the best way to create jobs is to provide that enabling environment. One, infrastructure. Two, make the business environment attractive. Then they can grow more. Then they can employ more people. But what we have done is we also do a bit of direct intervention. And that also led to the employment of about 500,000 unemployed graduates under the Empower. Under the End Knowledge, we are employing about 50,000 people who are not graduates, but probably people who have done OND graduates, building and others, skills. And but I think our major success has been in the area of agriculture, because in the area of agriculture, we've been able to create a lot of employment for many people, and also many industries have also, sprung up. And then our market money and trader money has helped a lot, because we've been able to touch about 1.6 million people whom we have given, direct, loans for self-employment. Many of them are also employing people. So on the big picture, we believe that we're on the right course. Provide infrastructure, insist on, very sound, business economic reforms, and then do a bit of direct intervention to those people who normally will not have access to credit. And one of the organizations I visited in Washington was also a non-for-profit organization, FINCA, which is involved in giving micro credits to people all over the world, and they are already talking to us.
There seems to be a law, Kiran, I'm sorry, there seems to be a law in the trader money, the issue, because that was a very laudable, scheme. Are we going to see
the question has been asked? I think they said, is it because elections are over that there's a law? No. The elections have nothing to do with our trader money and market money, and I can assure you that the next phase of trader money will be rolled out very soon.
Okay, sir, let's talk about the power sector, because it is believed globally too that if you get the power sector right, other sectors will fall in place, because they have to be energized to be able to be effective. Now, what is going on? We have a lot of issues in this sector. Talk about metering, talk about the discos and what have you. There are arguments upon arguments with respect to the functionality of the discos and all of that. So could you just lead us into what the situation is at the moment?
You see, Kiran, I think the first thing we must get across to Nigerians is that for about 12 years now, the power sector had been privatized. In other words, it's not the NEPA that me and you grew up with, or the ECN some of us grew up with. No. Where the government controlled generation, distribution, and transmission. No. What we have today is a privatized power system where companies, the private sector, controls generation. They control distribution. The only part left to government is transmission. When we came in, less than 4,000 megawatts of power was being generated. and only 2,620 was being distributed. Those are facts that we went on ground. It is the intervention of this government through the guarantees. I think the federal government provided a guarantee of about $2 billion, actually to be specific, 701 billion naira. When we found out that there was a problem between the generating companies and the distributing companies. When generating companies refused to generate power because they were not being paid by the discos. And the discos companies, they were not being paid by the consumers. So the government came in and said, okay, we are going to give this 701 billion guarantee to ensure that if you generating companies don't even mind discos, you generate power, you will pay as government. And then we will now get our money back from the discos. And that is why we have been able to increase generation to 7,000 megawatts. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, we are generating more power than we can distribute. That's the honest truth today. And recently, we have also stepped into the distribution problem by working on an distribution expansion program, so that to allow for, more efficient distribution. And only last week, I think there was I was not in, but I think there was a memo to extend this guarantee so that we can reach the ultimate. Our target is by 2020, we should be generating 10,000 megawatts.
As you speak, Honorable Minister, my colleagues are saying, look, I don't have light in my place. I don't have light in my place. So how do we explain?
You see, clear, like I said, government doesn't generate power. Government does not distribute power. What we've been doing is intervening to ensure that both GENCOs and DISCOs actually improve the efficiency. But by the time we finish the Mandela power project, which is about 3,050 megawatts, that's almost about 50%, about almost 40% of what we're generating now, to be a different story. Not to talk about the other many, grids that are going on in Edo and everywhere. So you see, the issue of power, unfortunately, is a matter that we hate going back to the past. But an administration has claimed that they spent billions of dollars on this same power, about $12 billion. We have not seen anything. But we are not going back there. We are building on what we have inherited.
Okay, we're just a bit trying to wind down. Let me take you back to the issue of rice and agric. Recently the rice farmer, the producers, complained about the quantity of, smuggled rice. And on one of the pages this morning, we read the fact that the president has declared zero tolerance of smuggling. That is a major concern, isn't it?
Yeah, you see, the issue of rice, time was that I think in 2016, Nigeria imported about 480,000 metric tons of rice. Today, we do not officially import 1 ton of rice. We are nearing self-sufficiency in rice production, thanks to the Anchor Brewer program, thanks to the focus of the president. And like Mr. says we are lucky. We had 3 very good, seasons of good rains. But the important thing is that a rice revolution has come to Nigeria. There would be the issue of smuggling. No country is free of smuggling, and the customs are doing their best to ensure that the smugglers do not overrun, do not jeopardize our effort. But you see, one thing about smuggling, why is it attractive? Number one, the rice they are bringing in is probably not even fit for consumption. It's the rice that has been stored for years, which they have not been able to sell, which normally should have fell to cattle. So it comes in cheaper. Two is that even the people that sell wholesale from rice are giving credit by the smugglers just to encourage smuggling. But these are issues that with time we are tackling, and I think there's a very robust plan by government to address this issue of smuggling rice. So we want to assure our rice farmers that we will not abandon them.
Yes, so of course, progress has been made in the area of rice production. I will also hope and pray that other crops will also get the same treatment, so that we can be totally self-sufficient in food production. This is Good Morning Nigeria, and at this point, we'd like to take another break. When we come back, we'll be winding down for the conclusion of today's edition of the program. Do stay with us for more on this platform.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Hold it! Me! I don't comot my hand from oil bunkering.
General, what you call the yarn? What did the yarn serve? I don't understand though.
Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants is there. No good. Me! I not do again, Sam. Because why? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
All right, thank you for staying with us on the program. Good morning, Nigeria, and we have a special guest today. Kieran here by my side has a question, and
yes,
you have to take it before I ask the honourable minister.
Yes, I'm actually, concerned about executive legislature relationship. You know what happened in the last dispensation, or the dispensation that is about to wind down, and that didn't all go well for the APC administration, because for all the policies you are propounding that Nigerians are going to witness within the next 4 years cannot be possible if the legislature is not working in tandem with the presidency. So what will the party do to ensure that the rift did not reoccur this time around, that Nigerians want to feel the real impact of the APC administration?
Thank you, Kieran. Yes, we, as long as we respect the independence of the legislative arm of government, we also believe that, especially when a party has done very well in both legislative and executive, elections, but there should be synergy between the legislative arm of government and the executive arm of government. I want to assure you, Kiran, that we are doing the right thing this time around. And we would not end up with the kind of situation that we had in 2015, 2019, where it was difficult actually to believe that the leadership of the National Assembly were actually, working for the, were actually members of the same party as the president.
Currently, there is a misunderstanding currently among the APC members as to.
I think, like I said, I think we're getting it right this time around, and we have a leadership. We will have a leadership of the National Assembly. I can assure you that would work, very well with the legislature. With the executive, rather.
Yes, I will not let you go without talking about Otoge in Kwara State. Otoge, I'm told, started with one LK Smith, Jimo, and it didn't work out. So what happened this time?
Well, I think LK Jimo and other people, have been part of the struggle for a very long time. The struggle to take part, for the people of Kwara to take power back to themselves started a long time ago. But I think this time it was just God's time. Nobody alone can take credit for what happened in Kwara State. I think the credit goes to the good people of Kwara State who, having suffered in silence for many years, decided to take matters in their own hands, and who have suddenly realized that real power belongs to the people. And that is why we had the kind of landslide victory, where we won not just presidency, we won all the seats, National Assembly, the 3 senatorial seats, the 6 House of Reps, the 24 House of Assembly seats, the governorship.
Sweeping victory.
But I think it's, like I said, I must thank all the good people of Kwara State and thank God for making it possible. But now that elections are over, it's time for governance. And we must make sure that we must ensure that the confidence the people of Kwara State have reposed in us is not misplaced.
In fact, the number of Kwara progressive youth scattered all over the place were not within the dragnet of governance. So are you also going to reach out to those ones?
Why not?
Who are not within governance system, who want to contribute their quota?
We would try as much as possible to run a very inclusive government.
All right, so at this point, let's hear what the Nigerians have been saying, those who were able to reach us via tweet. And first we have Ibrahim Mudo Aji. He says, Nigeria have wooed enough of the international business moguls to invest in Nigeria, which was demonstrated by Mr. President in his foreign trips. We have to start seeing investors coming to Nigeria. We have done enough in trying to woo them.
All right, and Abraham Chijile tweets, now that elections are done and dusted, the government of the day should endeavor to create jobs and put electricity in place.
Alhaji Musa Mohammed Hadejia, he says, I hope the elected politicians will change the tactics of the past 4 years by increasing focus on education, agriculture, youth empowerment, and redouble their effort on peaceful coexistence in the country, especially curbing kidnapping.
All right, and Chad Street, why is it that the gold in Zamfara doesn't belong to the federal government, but the oil in the south belongs to the federal government?
And from Francis Jethro, when it comes to election in Nigeria, INEC in particular need to do more. Governance in Nigeria is very peculiar. Well, of course, it's peculiar to Nigeria. Honorable Minister, as we round off this edition of Good Morning Nigeria, what will be your final thoughts to talk to Nigerians on what to expect in the coming days?
Well, I'll first of all take the opportunity again thank Nigerians for re-electing Mr. President and our party. And Mr. President has made it very clear that we will spend the next 4 years consolidating on the gains of the last 4 years. If you fight insecurity, you fight corruption, and you revamp the economy, there's little more to do, because there can't be any development without security. And there's a correlation between poverty also and corruption. If funds meant to build roads, meant to provide power, meant to provide jobs, are shared among just a few people, then there will be no development. I remember as soon as I came in, we issued a statement that between 2006 and 2013, just about 54 people or 55 people allegedly stole 1.4 trillion naira. That's 50% of what we spent on infrastructure in 2017. So you can see the correlation between underdevelopment and corruption. And that is why we believe that the next 4 years will only be an improvement on the last 4 years. Thank you.
Well, Honorable Minister, you said that we call it a day. We hope that in the future we'll also have the privilege of hosting you one more time on this platform. Perhaps we'll be maybe talking about other matters concerning the development of Nigeria. We've been speaking with the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture in the person of Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Thank you very much, sir, for being here this morning.
Claire, it's always been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, the Nigeria's under-17 Golden Eagles will today lock horns with their Guinean counterpart at the semi-final of the ongoing under-17 AFCON in Tanzania. And top seed, Simona Halep, pulls out of Stuttgart Open after a hip injury. Let's now join Sports Desk for details.